Hello, Leo Risings. Welcome to your monthly zodiac reading for the month of June 2025. As always, we are going to pull an overall energy theme for the month. We will pull tarot for each week, discuss the astrological transits that are taking place that week, clarify with more tarot, as well as wrap it up with some additional oracle guidance. So let's see what Leos need to know for the month of June. Face your adversities. Okay, so facing our adversities, there's essentially can kind of just wrap up that over the month you guys could experience challenges. It doesn't feel like conflict, it just feels like change and challenge. A lot is going on within the sign of Cancer this month, and Cancer hits you guys in a very challenging house, one that has a lot to do with the subconscious and mental health. So it can really, I feel like for the most part, that's going to kind of trigger these adversities that seem to be the theme for the month. But let's see what the tarot says for each week. Okay. Here in the first week, a death and rebirth. So you've got the death card here in the first week. Death represents change, transformation, an ending has occurred. And like I said, with your 12th house being activated a lot this month, that doesn't really surprise me. But this is the week that 12th house doesn't really get activated until next week, but you could be feeling the start of that already. This is the week that we have Venus, the planet of love, money, beauty, happiness, not happiness, but love, money, beauty, aesthetic, and value is moving into the sign of Taurus. Taurus for you guys sits in your 10th house. This is your career house. This is your public image and your reputation. So it could mean that this area of your life, maybe you're ending a job, something along that lines is ending. Maybe it almost feels like the version of you that people see is coming to an end, right? You're kind of going through this transformative period that people are literally watching you evolve and change right before their eyes. That's kind of what this feels like. Here in the second week, the Five of Wands in reverse. So the Five of Wands in reverse can feel like you're struggling, like you don't really have the confidence in yourself to overcome these obstacles, right? There could be conflict or tension that is happening. It can also mean that maybe you feel like you are fighting to feel seen and heard, right? Maybe there's competition going on, and like you're like, I'm not coming out on top of this. I don't feel like I'm going to come out on top, right? Mercury, the planet of thoughts, ideas, and communication and messages, is moving into your 12th house. So this is going to be a lot to do with your mental health. Mercury governs thoughts, ideas, communication, and messages, all things that have to do with the mind, and it is moving into your 12th house. So I think this is going to have a lot to do with just tackling, maybe feeling like your emotions, like almost like you're having a hard time taming these I don't want to say necessarily emotions, because this is wands, but it does have a lot to do with your mental health. A lot of these thoughts or these ideas, like you're having a hard time keeping them in check, right? And it could present also, like I said, there's a conflict of interest. If you're going through a change where like you're literally evolving and changing, or people are seeing you evolve and change, there may be a conflict of interest, right? You may feel like you're having a hard time, like, I should be happy about this change, but I feel a little guilty or I feel a little sad. Like this real, I keep going like this because it feels like two heads like that are butting, right? But it's almost like that could feel internal, where two sides of this change are kind of bashing up against each other, right? It could also present that someone who was once used to you being a certain way does not feel, they don't like the fact that you're changing. So it is creating a conflict of interest between maybe you and another person. And you're like, I don't know if I can overcome this. Like it really has you kind of, it almost feels like questioning. I don't want to say questioning whether you've done the right thing or whether you've made the right choices or whether you've chosen the right path, but almost kind of like, it's really hard to put my finger on exactly what it is that I'm feeling. But I'm just going to overall say that it's going to feel like a conflict of interest, and that maybe you ultimately feel like you're just having a hard time taming these thoughts. Here, this is also the week that we have Jupiter, the planet of luck, abundance, growth, and expansion, is moving into that 12th house as well. So I do feel that maybe like your spirituality, your faith is going to grow over this period due to kind of where you're going. And it may mean that it's almost like this whole time, like this is a place of self-discovery for you. This is like something that is going, if you can address these mental challenges, if you can address tapping into that faith and addressing any subconscious beliefs that are coming up, it is going to expand who you are from the inside out. Like you will completely shift and evolve into a much more mature and aligned version of yourself if you can like face these adversities, right? On the 11th, we will experience a full moon within the sign of Sagittarius. Full moons are a buildup of energy, and they tend to heighten our emotional state, which is why people tend to act out around full moons. But the full moon is occurring in the sign of Sagittarius, and this is your 5th house. So this is your house of self-expression here. This is the house that you rule. This is a house of creativity, children, self-expression, one-off romantic love affairs, or even like your, I don't want to say your lived experience, but fun and hobbies, things like that. With the full moon happening in that sign, it could, if you are in a connection, it could present some conflict of interest between you and the other person. But it also could represent that you're having a hard time expressing yourself. Maybe you're having a lot of challenge expressing yourself, and the full moon is going to probably heighten that. Okay. Here in the 3rd week, we have the 3 of Pentacles. Very nice. This is taking steps towards building the future that you want. The 3 of Pentacles is known as the architect of the tarot. And when we think about architects, we think about engineers, we think about blueprints, right? They are looking at a plan and they are building something. They are working with other professionals and they are building something. So the 3 of Pentacles can represent taking a position or a job at an organization. It can represent communication and collaboration. And it can also just represent creating a blueprint for the future that you want. All right. This is the week that Mars, the planet of action, aggression, war, violence, power, and control and desire, is moving into the sign of Virgo. Virgo sits in your 2nd house. This is your house of material resources, financial investments, as well as like your value systems, like what it is that you value and your self-worth. Okay, so with this being the 2nd house of money, You could be, like I said, working with another person to maybe find financial opportunities, or collaborating and communicating on ways to work through finances, ways to work through investments, as well as maybe, like I said, your value systems. If there's a clash that's happening between you and another person here in the second week, it looks like you guys kind of smooth things out and you start to learn how to work together towards that area. Like what it is, like aligned values and aligned goal to work towards so that you can move forward. This is also when that happens on the 17th. On the 21st is when we will experience the start of Cancer season as well as the summer equinox. So anytime we shift into an astrological season, the thoughts, or not thoughts, but the qualities and traits of that sign begin to take center stage. So there's a big focus around nurturing, kindness, and family. Here in the 4th week, the Empress. Very nice. Birthing a new cycle, taking care of yourself, not overdoing it, right? Really being in that very soft, creative space, that very receptive space. So here in the 4th week, this is when we have the new moon happening in the sign of Cancer, right? So it's almost like this new version of yourself is slowly coming to life, right? New moons are a new opportunity or a blank slate to set intentions, for yourself, or to write a new story in this area of your life. And like I said, this has a lot to do with your mental health. This has a lot to do with your spirituality, your faith, and a lot to do with the subconscious. So if we have the death and rebirth card here in the beginning and then the Empress here, like this is literally an ending in a completely, this is the death, this is the rebirth right here, all happening within the span of a month. However, it is going to require you to kind of face these challenges head on. On the 26th, we have Mercury, the planet of thoughts, ideas, communication, and messages, moving into your first house. You could become very, very talkative. You could become very bold and confident in presenting yourself to other people with how you communicate, right? A whole new version of yourself is emerging. Okay, so let's see what this tarot, what clarifying messages can we get from this deck? Okay. Here, death and rebirth. The Knight of Swords in reverse, feeling very hesitant, a little cautious on doing something. Here, if there is this transformation that's occurring, you could be very cautious. Like if your sense of self is evolving, which it feels like it is, right? We're having a death and rebirth moment, a very transformative month for you. If this image of yourself that not only you have or others have, but you have as well, if that is changing and evolving, you may be hesitant to speak on anything. You may be very hesitant to take action towards something. Maybe just like I said, showing back up out into the world as a newer version of yourself could be very hesitant. But this is a time and an opportunity for you to focus on your healing. This is a time and an opportunity to focus on the future that you ultimately want to create, right? The star represents healing, hope, faith, following that divinely guided path. If you are hesitant, if this change, this ending that's occurred is making you a little hesitant to move forward or to follow through with it, this change is divinely guided for you. Like this is the right move for you to make. If something is changing within your career or just who you are personally, this is kind of where you're meant to move to. Okay. Here in the second week, this is the week of the full moon, the Five of Wands in reverse, the Four of Pentacles in reverse, and the Ace of Pentacles. Sorry. Very, very nice. Like I said, it feels like this conflict of interest because you're being provided a new opportunity to begin something new, to start something new, to build something that is worth, that you feel like is very valuable. And you are wanting to open up to this new opportunity, but it can feel very challenging because, like I said, there's this ending that's occurring. There is a death that is happening, a change, a transition that is occurring. And it feels like this internal conflict that's happening. I know I need to be sad, but actually I'm very open to this new opportunity. I know I need to maybe I feel like I need to be apprehensive. These are all things that it's like you're feeling. You feel like you should be a little sad. You feel like you should be hesitant. Maybe you feel like you should be cautious, when in reality, you're very open to this new opportunity, right? And you being very open to this new opportunity could create, like I said, a clash of egos between you and another person. Here in the third week, the Three of Pentacles, the Chariot in reverse, and Strength. You've got some major arcana coming out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, this is a huge, huge month for you. A lot of change, healing, stepping into that quiet confidence, like that leadership, because Leos get a lot of crap about being bold and overly confident and needing the spotlight. They're fine with the spotlight, and it's because they're typically very confident in themselves. However, there's a lot of nobility to Leo. Leo represents royalty. It represents the heart, right? So Leo is actually very loyal, and it's very noble. And that's represented here in the Strength card. This is quiet strength. You are the lion and the lion tamer at the same time. This comes from like self-mastery and being able to overcome the ego and any doubts that you have in yourself. But the Three of Pentacles, you could need to seek advice from someone who maybe has a little bit more experience in a particular area of life than you do, because the Chariot can represent that there's no movement forward. Like, you're not really sure where you need to go. You feel confident in going there, in making changes, but you're just not sure, what is my next step? So you probably are being guided to seek out the experience or collaboration and communication with someone else, typically somebody who is like a teacher, a mentor, or a professional in their chosen field. Here in the last week, the Empress, the new moon in Cancer, the World, another major arcana, and the Knight of Wands in reverse. So the World represents, again, we've got two cards that represent new beginnings. And the Knight of Wands, when he's in reverse, can represent personal freedom, like somebody who is just seeking out their own personal freedom. However, with this being like a new beginning, I don't think you're meant to just go like charging ahead. I think you're kind of being guided to allow yourself to sit in this space, sit in this liminal space that comes in between the ending and this brand new beginning, right? Because the World represents new beginnings. The Empress card represents new beginnings. I don't think you're meant to just go tearing forward with this new life or with this new version of yourself. I think you're meant to actually just kind of allow it to emerge quietly, allowing this new version of yourself to emerge very subtly, right? Let's see what the oracle has to say. I apologize if my voice sounds a little raspy. I'm getting over a cold. Fighting spirit. Fighting spirit. This is card number 54. Another 5. 5 represents change, challenge, or conflict, and 4 represents stability and the home. And security, right? We put them together and you get 9. 9 is the completion of a cycle. So there's a lot about ending and there's a lot about beginnings here. Continue to fight for what you feel like is true for you. Continue to fight for what it is that you want within reason. Okay, if you want this change, allow yourself to go forward with it. Perfect moments. Perfect moments right here, the week of the full moon. Again, I do feel like Jupiter moving into your sign or moving into the sign of your 12th house is going to bring a lot of internal growth, like a lot of maturity, a lot of emotional maturity. So I think this is just allowing yourself to sit in those perfect moments. Things might feel chaotic. All of this change is occurring, but actually, like I said, you're very open to it. And that could kind of, like I said, create those internal perfect moments. Love is in the air. Look, surrounded by love. Loving yourself through these huge changes is going to be the key to helping you face your adversities, right? Like I said, collaborating with another person and allowing yourself to step into this place of quiet strength that is just inherently in your nature. Here, the last one. 0 fucks given. Like I said, you have stepped into a completely new version of yourself, and it is clearly showing. And it could be like you're like, I am stepping in to this new place of like what I want. What I want actually matters, right? Because I said the Knight of Wands in reverse represents personal freedom. And with this change, you're birthing this new cycle where you're starting a new beginning that is focused around how you feel, like your own personal sense of freedom, right? And you're like, I do not care. I am happy. I feel like this is good and I'm moving forward with it. So whatever challenges are kind of come with this transformation that you're going through this month, you have what it takes to face them. You've got clearly maybe a support system around you that allows you or gives you the courage to move forward with these plans. And I love this reading. I'm excited for you guys. This is really, really lovely. And this is a big deal, right? So I truly hope this helped. I hope you guys have an incredible month and we will see you next time.